If life feels heavy, it is not because you are failing, it is because you have been carrying unnecessary weight. What tires you is not life itself, but the way you have been taught to live it. Compassionate and calm, soft emphasis on not because you are failing. In this talk, I will show you why struggle has become your habit, why effort has replaced joy, and why relaxation feels unfamiliar even when it is natural. You will see how society trained you to push against life and how awareness allows life to carry you instead. This is not about doing less, it is about living rightly. You feel tired, tense, and pressured even when nothing is wrong. Right now, life feels like resistance. What is possible is flow, ease, and quiet strength. I am not offering methods, I am revealing a misunderstanding. Once this misunderstanding is seen, effort begins to fall away on its own. From childhood onward, you were rewarded for struggle. You were praised for effort, endurance, and sacrifice. Slowly, ease disappeared from your life and tension became normal. You were taught that without struggle, nothing valuable happens. This is not motivation to push harder. This is permission to stop fighting. You are not weak. You are simply overtrained in struggle. As this unfolds, you will begin to feel lighter without changing anything. In this sharing, I am not going to teach you how to succeed. I am going to show you how to stop interfering with your own life. We will look at how struggle became your habit, how effort replaced intelligence, and how relaxation opens a deeper kind of strength. Nothing here requires discipline. Everything here requires understanding. Later, I will show how even spiritual effort becomes another form of struggle. I will reveal why relaxing does not slow life down, but speeds it up. This is gentle. This is spacious. This is meant to be absorbed, not rushed. By the end, you may realize that the problem was never life. It was your resistance to it. Now we begin by touching the very first misunderstanding, the one that entered so early that it no longer feels like a belief, but like reality itself. This next part matters deeply because it shows you that your struggle did not come from life. It came from learning. And anything learned can be unlearned once it is seen. What I am about to share may feel obvious once you hear it, yet it has shaped your entire way of moving through existence. Here is something most people completely miss. From the very beginning, you were praised for effort, not for ease. You were appreciated when you tried hard, when you pushed, when you endured. Rest was allowed only after exhaustion. Relaxation had to be earned. Slowly, quietly, a message entered your nervous system. Life rewards struggle. Life distrusts ease. This message was never questioned because it was wrapped in love, approval, and success. As a child, you noticed something very clearly. When you struggled, you were seen. When you tried harder, you were valued. When you rested, you were corrected. This was not cruelty. It was conditioning passed down unconsciously. But the child does not analyze. The child absorbs. And what the child absorbs becomes the foundation of adulthood. Guilt around rest grew from this soil. Even when nothing needed to be done, the body remained tense. Sitting quietly felt wrong. Enjoying life felt undeserved. Doing nothing felt dangerous. The mind learned to stay busy not because life demanded it, but because approval once did. Over time, effort became identity. You no longer struggled to do things. You struggled to be someone. Identity, built on effort, is very heavy. It says, I am valuable because I try. I matter because I push. I exist because I endure. This identity cannot relax because relaxation feels like disappearance. Ease feels like loss of worth. So even when life offers support, the body resists it. Struggle feels safer than surrender. Think of a student praised only when exhausted. The praise does not celebrate learning, it celebrates strain. Slowly, learning becomes secondary. Struggle becomes the goal. Years later, the same pattern continues. You work hard, not out of joy, but out of habit. You push forward, not because it is needed, but because stopping feels uncomfortable. This is why ease feels dangerous. Not because ease is wrong, but because struggle was rewarded. And anything rewarded becomes addictive. The nervous system learned to associate tension with survival and relaxation with risk. This is not natural. This is trained. When a struggle is rewarded, ease feels dangerous. Seeing this is the first release. Nothing has to change yet. Nothing has to be dropped. Just seeing how this habit was formed begins to loosen its grip. And once this grip loosens, another truth becomes visible. Because the discomfort around relaxation is not mental alone. It is deeply physical. It lives in the nervous system itself. Now we move into a layer that explains why. Even when you understand that struggle is unnecessary, the body still refuses to let go. This is where many people become confused and frustrated, because insight seems clear, yet tension remains. What I am about to share removes that confusion completely, because it shows that your discomfort with relaxation is not psychological weakness, it is adaptation. The nervous system learned tension the same way it learned language, slowly, repeatedly, through experience. Over time, tension became familiar. Familiar began to feel safe, and safety became more important than ease. This is why stillness can feel strange, restless, even threatening. The body has been trained to stay alert, to stay ready, to stay braced. Restlessness in stillness is the first sign of this training. When you stop moving, the body does not relax. It becomes uneasy. The mind starts looking for something to do. The hands feel empty. The breath becomes shallow. This is not because something is wrong. It is because the system has forgotten how to rest. Fear of slowing down lives here too. Slowing down once meant falling behind, being judged, being left out. So even when there is nothing to chase, the body keeps running. Pressure becomes an addiction. Without it, something feels missing. That missing feeling is not emptiness. It is withdrawal from tension. Addiction to pressure is real. Tension produces stimulation. It creates a sense of importance. It gives identity. Without it, the mind feels lost. Who am I if I am not struggling? Who am I if I am not pushing? These are not conscious thoughts. They are bodily habits. Think of an engine revving even at rest. The car is parked, but the engine keeps racing. Fuel is being burned for no reason. Noise continues. Heat builds. This is how many people live. Nothing is required, yet tension continues. Energy is wasted, and fatigue becomes normal. Tension feels normal, but it is not natural. The body was not designed to stay contracted. It was designed to move between action and rest. Struggle locked it into action. Awareness begins to unlock it. Once you see this, compassion replaces judgment. You stop trying to force relaxation. You stop shaming yourself for restlessness. You begin to allow the body to relearn ease, slowly, gently, without demand. And in this allowance, something surprising happens. Energy begins to return. This brings us to the real cost of constant effort, because tension does not only create discomfort, it drains life force itself. And until this cost is seen clearly, struggle continues to masquerade as strength. Now we arrive at something that is usually ignored because it has become so common that it no longer looks like a problem. This next part matters because it explains why so many people feel tired even when their lives are not especially difficult. Why joy feels distant even when things are going well, and why rest never seems to fully restore them. What I am about to share shows that constant effort does not just demand energy, it slowly consumes it. Struggle drains life force. This happens quietly, without drama. When the body stays tense for too long, it stops renewing itself. Energy that should be used for creativity, love, and clarity is constantly spent on holding, controlling, and resisting. The body becomes efficient at surviving but forgets how to celebrate. This is why chronic fatigue appears without a clear cause. It is not laziness, it is depletion. Emotional dullness follows naturally. When tension becomes constant, sensitivity is sacrificed. Feeling deeply would be overwhelming, so the system numbs itself. Joy fades, curiosity weakens, even pleasure feels muted. Life continues, but its color drains. People mistake this dullness for maturity or realism. In truth, it is exhaustion wearing a mask. Loss of joy is not a personal failure. It is a biological consequence. A bow that is always pulled tight eventually loses its flexibility. The string weakens, the wood cracks. The bow was meant to move between tension and release. Without release, it breaks. Human beings are no different. Constant effort without rest turns strength into brittleness. Think of that bow, always drawn, never allowed to relax at first. It seems powerful, always ready, always prepared. But slowly, silently, damage happens. This is how many lives unfold. From the outside, they look disciplined and successful. Inside, they feel dry and strained. This is the real price of struggle. Not failure, but emptiness. Not collapse, but quiet erosion. Seeing this is essential, because once the cost is clear, the mind stops glorifying effort. Struggle loses its false nobility. It begins to look unnecessary, even unintelligent. Once struggle is seen as conditioning and its cost is understood, a deeper truth appears naturally. You begin to notice something very simple and very obvious that was overlooked before. Life itself does not struggle at all, and this realization changes the direction of everything that follows. Now a very simple observation begins to undo a lifetime of misunderstanding. It is so simple that it has been ignored, and so obvious that it has been overlooked. This next part brings great relief, because it shows that struggle is not written into existence itself. It is something human beings added. When you see how life actually moves, effort begins to look strange and unnecessary. Look at nature. It never hurries, yet everything happens. Rivers do not struggle to reach the ocean. They move around rocks, not through them. They do not argue with the landscape. They respond to it. Trees do not strain to grow. They rise slowly, silently, according to their own rhythm. Seasons change without anxiety. Stars move without effort. Nothing is pushing. Nothing is forcing. Life flows without resistance. This does not mean life avoids challenge. It means life does not fight itself. When obstacles appear, nature adjusts. It bends. It finds another way. Intelligence expresses itself as flexibility, not as a stubborn force. This is why nature looks so graceful. There is no inner conflict. This is the great contrast. Human beings learn to push where nature learned to flow. You were taught to move against yourself, to override your signals, to ignore tiredness, to mistrust ease. This is why life feels heavy. Not because life is heavy, but because resistance has been added to it. Think of a river finding its way around rocks. The river does not stop and complain. It does not attack the rock. It does not try harder. It simply moves differently. In that movement, there is no wasted energy. Everything serves the flow. This is intelligence in action. If nature does not struggle, why should you? Not as a question to be answered, but as a truth to be felt. You are not separate from existence. The same intelligence that moves the river moves you. When you fight that intelligence, effort appears. When you align with it, ease appears. Once this is seen, a subtle shift begins. You stop glorifying strain. You start trusting movement. You begin to sense that effort is not strength, but misunderstanding. And this prepares you for the next clarity, because ease is not accidental. Ease is a sign of intelligence at work. Now we touch something that overturns one of the deepest lies you have been taught. This next part may feel counter to everything you associate with strength, success, and discipline. Yet, once it is seen, it feels natural, almost self-evident. What I am about to share brings dignity back to ease and removes shame from relaxation. Ease is not weakness. Ease is a sign of intelligence. Whenever life is aligned, movement becomes simple. When alignment is lost, effort appears. Effort is not proof of virtue. It is a signal. It tells you something is off. Something is being forced that wants to flow differently. Effort signals misalignment. When you push constantly, it means you are no longer listening. The body knows when to act and when to rest. The mind interferes. It demands consistency, control, progress. In doing so, it breaks the natural rhythm. The result is strain. Strain looks like dedication, but it feels like exhaustion. Ease signals harmony. When you are in tune with life, actions arise smoothly. There is no inner argument, no dragging yourself forward. Things get done, sometimes even more effectively, but without tension. This is why people are surprised when ease produces results. They were taught that only struggle delivers. Force distorts action. When you force yourself, sensitivity is lost. You miss signals. You overlook timing. You push when waiting is needed and wait when action is called for. Force makes you clumsy. Ease makes you precise. Think of a skilled musician playing without strain. The hands move effortlessly. The music flows. If the musician begins to force each note, the music becomes rigid. Technique collapses. Grace disappears. Intelligence expresses itself through relaxation, not through tension. This is why children learn quickly when they are relaxed and forget when they are afraid. Fear tightens, ease opens. Learning, creativity, and clarity all depend on openness. A struggle closes the door they require. When effort drops, clarity increases. Not because you are trying less, but because you are interfering less. Life begins to use you instead of you trying to use life. Action becomes cooperative rather than aggressive. Once this is seen, another truth becomes unavoidable. Suffering is not created by pain alone, it is created by resistance. And resistance is effort directed against what already is. This understanding prepares you for the next revelation, because seeing how resistance works dissolves much of what you once called suffering. Now we arrive at a distinction that frees enormous energy the moment it is understood, because it separates what is unavoidable from what is unnecessary. This next part changes how you relate to pain, difficulty, and challenge, and it does so without asking you to become passive or indifferent. What I am about to share reveals that much of what you call suffering is not caused by life, it is caused by resistance to life. Pain is natural. Bodies feel pain, hearts feel loss. Change brings discomfort. These things belong to existence. They come and go. Suffering is different. Suffering is what happens when the mind argues with what is already happening. When you say this should not be happening, when you tighten against reality, when you demand a different moment than the one in front of you, tension appears. That tension is suffering. Fighting reality creates friction. Life moves in one direction and you push in another. Energy collides with itself. The body tightens, the mind spins, emotion hardens, nothing flows. This inner opposition drains you far more than the situation itself. Two people can face the same event. One bends, one resists, one moves through it, one suffers under it. Mental opposition is subtle but constant. It says, I do not like this, I want something else, this should be easier, I should be different. These thoughts may seem harmless, but they keep the nervous system contracted. They turn moments into problems. Life becomes something to endure instead of something to participate in. Emotional tightening follows naturally. When resistance appears, feeling becomes dangerous. You close down to protect yourself. Sensitivity dulls. Presence shrinks. You survive the moment, but you lose contact with life itself. This is why resistance feels like strength at first, but emptiness later. Think of pushing against an open door. The door is not locked. Nothing is stopping you. Yet you strain, sweat, and exhaust yourself. The effort feels real. The struggle feels justified. But the problem was never the door. It was the direction of your effort. This is how suffering works. When resistance drops, pain still passes through, but it does not stick. It moves like weather. It comes, it changes, it goes. Without resistance, life remains fluid even in difficulty. This does not make you weak. It makes you responsive. Understanding this leads naturally to a new way of acting. If suffering is created by resistance, then action does not need effort. Action can arise from clarity instead of fear. And this is where the difference between effort and action becomes not just philosophical, but practical and liberating. Now we enter a part that quietly exposes the engine behind most effort. Because effort does not appear without a cause. It always comes from somewhere. When this is seen clearly, effort begins to lose its authority over you. What I am about to share does not condemn effort. It simply reveals its origin, and in that revelation, effort starts to relax on its own. Effort comes from fear. Not obvious fear, not panic, but subtle fear. Fear of failing, fear of falling behind, fear of not being enough, fear of resting. These fears do not scream, they whisper. They push you forward gently but relentlessly. And because they are familiar, they are rarely questioned. Fear of failure creates constant pressure. You do not act because the moment is calling you. You act because something inside says you must. The body tightens, the breath shortens, the mind stays alert. Even success feels tense because it must be protected. Failure feels unbearable because it threatens identity. This pressure is effort. Fear of falling behind works in the same way. You compare yourself constantly. Others seem to be moving faster, achieving more, doing better. The mind turns life into a race that never ends. Rest feels like losing ground. Slowing down feels irresponsible. So you push even when the body is tired and the heart is uninvolved. Fear of rest is the most hidden fear of all. Rest brings silence. Silence brings awareness. Awareness threatens the identity built on doing. So the mind stays busy. Effort continues, not because it is needed, but because stopping feels unsafe. The struggle keeps you distracted from something deeper. Think of running from an imagined threat. The body reacts as if danger is real. Heart races. Muscles tense. Breath shortens. Energy floods the system, but there is nothing chasing you. The threat lives only in thought. Effort works the same way. The body responds to imagined danger. And because the body does not question thoughts, it obeys. When fear relaxes, effort dissolves. Not because you decided to stop trying, but because there is nothing to run from anymore. Action remains, movement remains, but pressure disappears. This is not collapse, it is clarity. Seeing fear behind effort is a great turning point. You stop praising struggle as virtue. You stop judging yourself for needing rest. You begin to listen instead of push. And in that listening, something else begins to move through you. Something far more accurate than effort. Action begins to arise from clarity rather than fear. Now something very different must be felt, not just understood. Because once fear loosens its grip, a new quality of movement appears on its own. This next part is subtle, yet it changes everything, because it shows you that life does not need effort to act. It needs clarity. And clarity does not push, it responds. When awareness is clear, action happens naturally. There is no debate inside. No inner noise arguing for or against. No dragging of the body forward. You see what is needed and movement follows. This movement is quiet, clean, direct. It does not waste energy convincing itself. It does not look heroic. Yet it is far more powerful than force. Spontaneous action is not impulsive, it is precise. When clarity is present, timing is right. You do not act too early, you do not act too late. The moment speaks and you answer. This is why such action feels effortless. It is aligned with the situation, not imposed upon it. There is no inner conflict here. Conflict belongs to fear, because fear pulls in many directions at once. Clarity is one. When you are clear, you are whole. Action flows from wholeness. This is why even difficult actions feel light when they arise from clarity. They do not leave exhaustion behind, they leave completion. Decisions become simple, not because life becomes simple, but because resistance is gone. You are no longer fighting yourself. Energy that was wasted on hesitation and doubt becomes available for living. Even rest becomes action when it is needed. Even stillness becomes productive when it is appropriate. Think of a cat jumping. The movement is sudden, accurate, complete. There is no rehearsal, no tension, no extra motion. The cat does not try, it moves. That is clarity in action. Human beings have the same capacity, but it has been buried under effort, fear, and conditioning. When action arises from clarity, results often surprise you. Things fall into place without strain. Solutions appear without struggle. You begin to trust this movement because it proves itself again and again. Life starts to cooperate instead of resist. And once action no longer needs effort, something even deeper begins to happen. The whole system starts to relax, not just in moments of rest, but in movement itself. Action becomes restful, doing becomes non-doing. This is where relaxation stops being a break from life and becomes the foundation of it. Now we come to one of the most deeply misunderstood words in human language. A word that has been distorted so thoroughly that people fear it without ever looking at it directly. This next part changes the whole meaning of relaxation, because until this is seen, the mind will always turn ease into guilt and rest into suspicion. What I am about to share restores relaxation to its rightful place as intelligence, not collapse. Relaxation is not laziness. Laziness is unconscious escape. Relaxation is conscious alignment. Laziness avoids life. Relaxation meets life without resistance. The difference is subtle, yet enormous. When you are lazy, you fall asleep to existence. When you are relaxed, you are awake and open. Relaxation allows clarity. When the body softens, perception sharpens. When tension drops, sensitivity returns. You begin to hear what life is saying instead of shouting over it with effort. Decisions become cleaner. Responses become simpler. You see more because you are not busy pushing. Sharpness is born from rest, not from strain. A tired mind cannot see clearly. A tense body cannot respond accurately. Relaxation does not dull intelligence, it refines it. This is why moments of insight often come when you stop trying. The mind steps aside and understanding appears. Sensitivity returns when relaxation is allowed. You feel subtle signals again. You notice when to move and when to wait. You sense what nourishes and what drains. Tension had numbed these signals. Relaxation restores them gently, without force, Energy renews itself in ease. When the body is no longer burning fuel unnecessarily, vitality returns. Not as excitement, but as steady presence. You feel less rushed, yet more alive. Less driven, yet more effective. This is the paradox that a struggle never understands. Think of sharpening a blade by stopping. You do not sharpen while hacking blindly. You pause, you become precise, you restore the edge. Life works the same way. Relaxation sharpens perception. A struggle blunts it. When the body relaxes, the mind follows. Not immediately, not perfectly, but naturally. There is no command involved. The system remembers how to be whole, and in that wholeness, trust begins to appear. But here the mind becomes afraid, because trust feels like loss of control. Letting go feels risky when control once felt like safety. This is why relaxation can bring fear with it at first, and that fear must be understood, not resisted, if relaxation is to deepen. Now we touch the fear that hides underneath tension, a fear so old and so quiet that most people never recognize it directly. This next part matters because without understanding this fear, relaxation remains shallow and temporary. What I am about to share shows you that the fear of letting go has nothing to do with danger in the present. It is a memory carried forward from a time when control felt like survival. Control was once mistaken for safety. As a child, you learned that being alert kept you protected. Watching carefully avoided punishment. Staying in control reduced uncertainty. Relaxing was not safe then. Relaxing meant being exposed, unprepared, vulnerable. That lesson entered the body deeply, long before the mind could question it. So now, when you begin to relax, the nervous system reacts, not because something is wrong, but because the old alarm is triggered. Slowing down feels like losing direction. Letting go feels like falling. Stillness feels like emptiness. These fears arise automatically. They are not signs to stop. They are signs that conditioning is surfacing. Fear of losing direction is very common. The mind believes that without constant effort, life will collapse, that nothing will happen, that momentum will be lost. This fear comes from not trusting existence. It comes from believing that only force moves life forward. Relaxation challenges that belief, so fear appears to defend it. Fear of slowing down follows closely. Slowing down feels like falling behind. Others seem to be moving, achieving, progressing. The mind turns relaxation into irresponsibility. But this fear belongs to comparison, not to truth. Life is not a race. It never was. Fear of emptiness is the deepest fear of all. When effort stops, silence appears. In silence, the old identity built on struggle has nothing to hold. The mind fears disappearance. It calls this emptiness, but emptiness is only unfamiliar space. It is not nothingness, it is openness. Think of learning to float instead of swim. At first, the body panics, it kicks, it flails, it does not trust the water. The moment trust appears, effort drops and the water carries you. Nothing changed except understanding. This is exactly how letting go works. When this fear is understood, it is no longer an obstacle. You do not push it away. You do not argue with it. You allow it to pass. And as it passes, something beautiful happens. Life begins to support you in ways effort never could. With relaxation, life starts carrying you instead of you carrying life. And this is not poetry, it is lived reality. From here, a completely different way of living becomes possible. A way where flow replaces force and trust replaces tension. There is something deeply misunderstood about struggle that must be seen clearly, otherwise it continues to masquerade as virtue. Struggle is not strength, struggle is misalignment. When a river meets resistance, it does not push harder, it changes direction. Only human beings believe that pushing against life proves worth. This belief was taught, not discovered. And whatever is taught can be unlearned. From the beginning, you were praised not for intelligence, but for endurance. You were rewarded not for sensitivity, but for tolerance. Slowly, very slowly, tension became your normal state. You forgot how it feels to move without friction. You forgot how it feels to act without inner argument. This forgetting is not your fault, it is cultural hypnosis. Struggle became identity. If you are not struggling, you feel uneasy, as if something is wrong. Ease feels suspicious. Relaxation feels like irresponsibility. Joy feels undeserved. This is the greatest tragedy of modern humanity. Life itself is effortless, yet you have been trained to live in opposition to it. Look closely at how you do even simple things: walking, eating, listening, resting. There is often a subtle push, a subtle urgency, a subtle resistance. You are not here fully. You are leaning into the next moment. This leaning creates strain. Strain accumulates. And what you call stress is simply accumulated resistance. You were never meant to carry this much inner weight. Existence does not burden itself. Trees do not tense while growing. Birds do not exhaust themselves while flying. The intelligence that moves the stars also moves you, but only when you stop interfering. Interference is the real struggle. The constant correction of life, the endless judgment of what is, the refusal to allow things to be as they are. This refusal creates friction. Friction creates heat. Heat creates exhaustion. And exhaustion creates the illusion that life is against you. Life is not against you. Life is flowing. You are standing in the current, pushing upstream, calling the current cruel. Another deep misunderstanding must be seen. You believe effort and action are the same. They are not. Action is natural. Effort is psychological tension. Action happens when clarity is present. Effort appears when fear is present. Fear that you will fall behind. Fear that you are not enough. Fear that rest will cost you something. This fear did not originate in you. It was inherited. You were taught to equate worth with productivity, value with sacrifice, meaning with difficulty. These equations are false, yet they shape entire lives. When you act from fear, even success tastes bitter. When you act from clarity, even difficulty feels clean. This is the difference between struggle and flow. Flow does not mean absence of challenge. It means absence of inner resistance. Another layer of struggle hides in your relationship with time. You are always racing it. Time feels scarce. There is never enough. This creates urgency even where none is needed. Urgency contracts intelligence. You make poorer decisions when rushed. You speak harshly when hurried. You miss beauty when focused only on outcome. Time relaxes when you relax. When you stop treating life as a race, moments expand. 1 hour of presence contains more life than 10 hours of anxious effort. This is not poetry. This is lived reality. Struggle also fragments attention. Part of you is always elsewhere, planning, worrying, rehearsing, regretting. Very little energy remains for what is actually happening. This fragmentation is exhausting. Wholeness is restful. When you allow yourself to be whole in a moment, without dividing yourself into observer and planner, something shifts immediately. Breath deepens, muscles soften, thoughts slow. This is not laziness. This is intelligence returning to its natural rhythm. Another hidden cost of a struggle is emotional dullness. When you live under constant pressure, you numb yourself to survive. You stop feeling deeply. Joy becomes muted. Love becomes careful. Sensitivity feels risky. This numbness protects you, but it also disconnects you from aliveness. Ease restores sensitivity. Sensitivity restores joy. Joy restores vitality. Vitality restores clarity. And clarity removes the need for struggle entirely. Many people fear ease because they associate it with collapse. They believe without struggle they will become weak, undisciplined, or directionless. This fear comes from never having tasted true ease. True ease does not make you dull. It makes you sharp. It removes unnecessary tension so intelligence can function fully. Look at a skilled dancer. Their movements are precise, not forced. Look at a master musician. Their playing is effortless, not lazy. Ease is the mark of mastery, not failure. Struggle is always a sign that something is being forced, and whatever is forced creates backlash. Burnout is backlash, depression is backlash, meaninglessness is backlash. Life pushes back when you push it. Another important point must be understood. Much of your struggle is not with life, but with yourself. You argue internally. You criticize constantly. You measure every step. This inner conflict drains more energy than any external challenge. When inner conflict drops, energy returns naturally. You do not need motivation. You need alignment. Alignment means your actions are not fighting your being. Another subtle struggle hides in the need to prove. Prove that you are worthy. Prove that you are strong. Prove that you are successful. This proving is endless because it is rooted in insecurity. Freedom comes when there is nothing to prove. Nothing needs to be proven to existence. Existence already accepted you. You exist. That is enough. Anything added on top of that is optional. Struggle also teaches you to distrust rest. Rest feels dangerous because it brings you face to face with yourself. In rest, distractions fade, old emotions surface, silence appears. This can feel uncomfortable. But discomfort is not danger, it is adjustment. Rest is not the opposite of action. Rest is what allows action to be intelligent. Without rest, action becomes compulsive. Compulsion is not strength. It is fear wearing the mask of discipline. Another deep misunderstanding is the belief that struggle gives life meaning. In truth, struggle often replaces meaning. When you stop struggling, meaning does not disappear. It reveals itself. Meaning is found in presence, not pressure. Presence is the only thing that makes life real. Without presence, even success feels hollow. With presence, even simplicity feels rich. Ease does not mean withdrawal from life. It means cooperation with it. You still act, you still participate, you still create, but you do not fight the current, you move with it. When you begin to live this way, something very simple happens. You stop exhausting yourself unnecessarily. You sleep better, you listen better, you love better. Life feels less like a task and more like a relationship. This is not philosophy. This is a return to your natural state. You were never meant to struggle this much. You were meant to flow, to respond, to rest, to act, to enjoy, to pause, to trust. Take it easy does not mean do nothing. It means stop doing violence to yourself. And when that violence ends, life opens on its own. There is also a very deep misunderstanding about responsibility that feeds struggle endlessly. You have been taught that responsibility means tension, seriousness, and constant alertness. You believe that if you relax, something will go wrong, something will be missed, something will fall apart. This belief keeps you on edge even when there is no real danger. Responsibility, in truth, has nothing to do with tension. Tension clouds perception. A relaxed mind sees more, not less. A relaxed body responds faster, not slower. Ease does not remove responsibility. Ease makes responsibility intelligent. Look at how you carry yourself through the day. The jaw tight, the shoulders lifted, the breath shallow. This posture is not caused by life. It is caused by a belief that life demands strain. The body has learned this belief so deeply that it no longer questions it. Awareness begins by questioning the body gently, by letting the shoulders drop, by allowing the breath to deepen, by noticing how much effort is unnecessary. These small shifts are not cosmetic. They are revolutionary. They signal to the nervous system that the emergency is over. Another layer of struggle comes from the way you relate to problems. You approach problems as enemies. You tense against them. You try to conquer them. This approach exhausts you because it assumes life is hostile. Problems are not enemies. They are signals. They show where adjustment is needed. When you meet problems with relaxation rather than resistance, solutions appear naturally. A tense mind cannot see simple answers. A relaxed mind often sees them immediately. Struggle also arises from comparison. You measure your pace against others. You judge your progress against imagined standards. You feel behind even when you are exactly where you need to be. This comparison keeps you running endlessly. It robs you of satisfaction. It makes ease impossible because someone else is always moving faster. Freedom from struggle includes freedom from comparison. Your life has its own rhythm. When you respect it, struggle dissolves. Another deep source of struggle is the belief that effort equals sincerity. You believe that if something matters, it must be hard. If it is easy, it must be shallow. This belief poisons joy. Love becomes work. Creativity becomes pressure. Growth becomes punishment. In reality, depth often comes with simplicity. Truth is simple. Intelligence is simple. Only confusion is complicated. When you allow yourself to enjoy something without justifying it, you may feel guilt arise. This guilt belongs to conditioning. It says enjoyment must be earned. Awareness sees this guilt without obeying it. Slowly, guilt loses its authority. Enjoyment becomes innocent again. Innocence is not childish, it is unburdened. Another way struggle hides is in your relationship with control. You try to manage outcomes excessively. You plan every detail. You rehearse conversations. You anticipate disasters. This constant control drains energy and creates anxiety. Control feels like safety, but it creates the very tension you are trying to escape. Relaxing control does not mean abandoning intelligence. It means trusting life enough to respond rather than predict obsessively. When you stop over-controlling, spontaneity returns. You respond to what is actually happening, not what you fear might happen. This responsiveness is far more effective than rigid planning. Life is fluid. Only fluid intelligence can meet it. Struggle also feeds on resistance to emotions. You try to stay positive. You try to suppress sadness, anger, fatigue. This suppression requires effort. Effort accumulates. Emotional honesty removes effort. When emotions are allowed to move, they do not linger, they complete themselves. This completion restores energy. Another important insight is this: much of your struggle comes from living ahead of yourself. You are rarely where your feet are. You are in tomorrow, next week, next year. This forward projection keeps you tense. When you return to where you are, effort drops immediately. Presence is effortless. Absence requires work. You may notice that when you slow down even slightly, things begin to fall into place. Conversations become clearer. Decisions become simpler. Mistakes reduce. This is not coincidence. Speed creates errors. Ease allows precision. Struggle also comes from the idea that life must be meaningful all the time. You pressure yourself to grow, evolve, improve constantly. This pressure turns life into a project. Projects are never finished. Living is not a project. Living is participation. Meaning arises naturally when you are present. It does not need to be manufactured. Another subtle struggle comes from self-image. You try to maintain an image of being capable, strong, productive. Maintaining an image requires constant effort. When you drop the image, you rest. You are no longer acting for an audience. You are living for yourself. This alone frees enormous energy. You may also notice how struggle is tied to fear of rest. When things slow down, you feel uneasy. You reach for a stimulation. You distract yourself. This avoidance keeps you tired. Rest is not emptiness. It is integration. In rest, the system reorganizes. Healing happens. Creativity incubates. Struggle prevents integration. It keeps everything fragmented. Rest brings wholeness. Another deep misunderstanding is believing that struggle prepares you for the future. In truth, struggle often depletes you so much that you have nothing left for the future. Ease conserves energy. Conserved energy becomes vitality. Vitality supports growth. When you begin to live with ease, you may feel fear. The fear of not trying hard enough. The fear of missing something. The fear of losing control. Let this fear be seen. It is old. It belongs to conditioning. It fades when not obeyed. As ease becomes more familiar, life begins to feel supportive rather than demanding. You notice help where you expected resistance. You notice opportunities where you expected obstacles. This is not magical thinking. This is perception clearing when tension drops. Struggle narrows perception. Ease widens it. Another important shift happens in how you experience success. Success no longer feels like relief from pressure. It feels like an expression of alignment. Failure no longer feels like collapse. It feels like feedback. This change removes emotional extremes. Life becomes balanced. Balance is not static. It is dynamic. It adjusts moment by moment. Only awareness can maintain balance. Struggle destroys it. Ease does not mean you will never feel challenged. It means challenges will not destroy you. They will not define you. They will pass through you. You were never meant to carry life like a burden. You were meant to move with it. When you stop resisting, life shows its intelligence. And that intelligence has been waiting patiently for you to stop struggling long enough to notice it. Another layer of struggle that few people recognize is how much of your effort is spent managing appearances rather than reality. From childhood, you learned that being noticed in certain ways, being obedient, capable, pleasing, brought safety. As an adult, this inner script continues. Often unconsciously, you act not because the moment calls for action, but because some inner audience is waiting to approve you. Even in private, you perform. This constant performance creates tension, fatigue, and a subtle anxiety that is mistaken for responsibility or discipline. Awareness dissolves the need for such performance. When you allow yourself to be unobserved, even for a few moments, a vast relief spreads through the body. Muscles soften, the breath lengthens, and the mind feels spacious. Performance is replaced by presence, and presence is effortless. You may notice that much of what you call effort is actually resistance. Resistance to what is, resistance to the moment, resistance to uncertainty, resistance to your own inner rhythms. Resistance takes energy, it creates stress, it narrows perception. Resistance is the root of struggle. When you stop resisting, even without doing anything else, life flows more smoothly. Your mind works more clearly. Your body moves more freely. Decisions arise spontaneously, and your actions carry a natural intelligence that effort could never produce. Struggle also manifests in how you relate to rest and stillness. From childhood, moments of rest may have been denied, controlled, or disrupted. You learn to associate stopping with danger, inattention, or failure. As a result, even when you have the opportunity to rest, the body and mind remain braced. You may lie in bed physically still, but the mind races. Muscles remain tense. Sleep may not come easily. Awareness teaches that rest is not a luxury. It is an integral part of functioning. It restores energy, clears perception, and allows the nervous system to rewire itself. Rest becomes a tool of liberation rather than guilt. The more you rest with presence, the less struggle you require to move effectively through life. Another subtle inheritance of childhood conditioning is the constant internal narrative of not enough. You may feel that your efforts must exceed your limits to prove worth. You may measure yourself against imagined standards, invisible benchmarks, or the lives of others. This relentless measurement is exhausting. Freedom begins the moment you see that your worth was never conditional on performance. You can act fully without needing to prove anything. You can live without measuring your existence against imaginary scales. This recognition alone dissolves immense internal tension and restores space for clarity, creativity, and joy. You may also notice the ways in which struggle limits intimacy. From childhood, you may have learned that vulnerability invites danger. Love may have been conditional. Expression may have been punished or ignored. As an adult, this teaches you to protect yourself with tension. Even subconsciously, you approach relationships cautiously, hold back emotion, and manage presence. Awareness teaches that true intimacy arises only when the child inside is felt, witnessed, and allowed to rest. When the inner child feels safe, vulnerability becomes natural, trust deepens, and connections are richer without effort. Struggle in relationships is often the projection of unresolved childhood survival strategies onto current circumstances. When these strategies are seen and held, relationships move from tension to resonance. Another deep insight is how a struggle affects creativity and play. Children were naturally creative, but many learned early that creativity must be controlled, directed, or useful. Play became subordinated to achievement or safety. As adults, this manifests as over-planning, perfectionism, or anxiety in any creative act. Awareness allows creativity to re-emerge as a natural expression rather than a project. You begin to see that doing something imperfectly, spontaneously, or without purpose reconnects you to the joy of being alive. Play becomes intelligence in motion rather than effort disguised as productivity. This is a profound liberation because it restores a sense of aliveness that the struggle had blocked for decades. You may also notice a profound shift in how you relate to mistakes. The child learned that mistakes were dangerous, punished, or shameful. As an adult, the same reflex creates unnecessary tension. You over-prepare, over-correct, and over-control. Awareness reveals mistakes as natural feedback rather than threats. You act with curiosity rather than fear. Decisions flow naturally, and energy no longer dissipates in internal debate over imagined consequences. The nervous system relaxes, the mind becomes clear. Action becomes intelligent and effortless. Another form of struggle arises from the belief that life must be constantly productive. Childhood may have rewarded effort while devaluing presence. As an adult, this manifests as a compulsion to fill time, to plan constantly, to avoid idleness. Awareness shifts the relationship with productivity. You learn to work when work is needed and rest when rest is required. Productivity becomes natural, not forced. Life stops feeling like a constant battle against time, and time itself opens to being experienced rather than consumed. Ease and effectiveness begin to coexist. You may notice that your inner dialogue changes as awareness deepens. The critical, judging voice softens. Self-doubt becomes quieter. The internal narrative of I must, I should, I have to loosens its grip. This inner quiet is not laziness, it is alignment. Decisions arise more clearly. Your energy expands and tension disappears. Even small acts, speaking, walking, listening, become rich with life and vitality. Another dimension of struggle hidden in adulthood is the need to control others, rooted in the survival strategies of childhood. The child learned that controlling the environment or people around them ensured safety. As an adult, this manifests in relationships, work, and social interactions. Control is exhausting. It requires constant vigilance and creates friction. Awareness dissolves this need naturally. You allow others to act as they will. You allow life to move in its own rhythm. You stop forcing outcomes and respond with intelligence instead of compulsion. Struggle also comes from identifying too strongly with outcomes. Childhood may have taught that your value depended on success, attention, or approval. As an adult, this continues as attachment to results. Awareness teaches that true accomplishment arises from action aligned with presence, not from external validation. Outcomes are secondary. Energy flows more freely when attachment to results drops, and work itself becomes joyful, effortless, and productive. Another subtle form of struggle is the fear of silence. Silence in childhood may have been dangerous or discouraged. As an adult, silence can feel uncomfortable, empty, or threatening. Awareness shows that silence is not empty. It is the foundation for clarity, perception, and intelligence. The more you allow silence, the more energy returns to the system. Decisions become clearer, reactions slower, and presence expands. Even small pauses transform daily life. Struggle also limits gratitude. When effort dominates, life becomes a series of tasks to complete rather than moments to inhabit. Gratitude is blocked by urgency. Awareness restores the capacity to notice, appreciate, and integrate simple blessings. Gratitude arises naturally when tension dissolves. It does not need to be cultivated. It emerges spontaneously. Finally, the deepest wisdom to understand is that you were never meant to struggle this much. Life itself moves effortlessly. Your struggle is a learned habit, a conditioned response, a legacy of survival strategies that no longer serve you. Awareness allows these strategies to relax. Effort becomes action, fear becomes intelligence, noise becomes attention, resistance becomes flow. Take it easy does not mean doing less. It means living aligned. It means breathing fully. It means responding rather than reacting. It means trusting life and trusting yourself. It means allowing the inner system to function without interference. When this is realized, life itself becomes your ally. Freedom is not far away. It is already present. And struggle begins to dissolve naturally, quietly, completely. Another profound layer of this struggle lies in how you relate to expectation. From childhood, you learn that approval, reward, and love were conditional. You were praised only when you met certain standards, achieved certain outcomes, or behaved in specific ways. This conditioned you to live under constant self-imposed expectation. The adult mind continues this habit unconsciously, creating an internal pressure that never rests. You plan too much, you worry too much, you anticipate endlessly. Every moment is measured against a hidden scale of what should be, what could be, or what must be. Awareness gently interrupts this cycle. You begin to see that these expectations were never yours to carry. They were inherited patterns, echoes of survival strategies, reinforced by a world that measures worth in achievement. Once this seeing occurs, expectation loosens. You no longer rush to prove yourself. You allow your presence to be enough. This loosening of expectation naturally transforms your relationship with energy itself. You may notice that previously your efforts felt heavy, exhausting, and urgent. You pushed as if the next moment depended entirely on your struggle. Awareness reveals that most effort is wasted on imagined threats and hypothetical consequences. Once the nervous system understands that not everything is life or death, energy returns. The body relaxes, the mind quiets, and action becomes aligned with clarity instead of compulsion. You act when the situation requires, not because fear drives you. This is intelligence, effortless and alive. Another subtle inheritance of childhood is how it shaped your internal dialogue. The child learned to repeat scripts. I must succeed. I must not fail. I must be perfect. Or I must be careful. These scripts became automatic. Even when circumstances changed, the internal narrative persisted. Awareness allows these scripts to be observed without identification. You notice the thoughts arising, but you are no longer compelled by them. The inner critic loses authority. This liberation is profound because it allows the adult presence to emerge and operate without constant internal friction. Each decision becomes clearer. Each action becomes lighter. Struggle is also amplified by the belief that control is safety. As a child, control was often necessary to survive emotionally. You learn to anticipate, to plan, to manipulate situations, to avoid loss, pain, or disapproval. As an adult, this translates into over-planning, perfectionism, and constant vigilance. Life becomes heavy because the body, mind, and emotions are all participating in the effort to dominate what is naturally unfolding. Awareness gradually dissolves the compulsion to control. You allow life to move. You respond to it rather than forcing it. This creates an enormous reduction in tension and a new rhythm of intelligence in action. Another aspect of struggle rooted in childhood is the suppression of spontaneous emotion. Children learn early that certain feelings are dangerous: sadness, anger, fear, desire. Suppression is a survival strategy. But suppressed emotion becomes energy trapped in the body. It manifests as tension, fatigue, or subtle irritability. Awareness allows these emotions to surface without judgment or reaction. Feeling fully restores the body and mind, releasing energy previously devoted to maintaining defense. Each emotion that is seen and allowed to flow without control strengthens inner stability and reduces the need for effortful management of life. Struggle also arises from the constant comparison you inherited. Siblings, peers, and social norms taught the child to measure worth against others. The adult continues this habit unconsciously, comparing achievements, possessions, beauty, intelligence, and recognition. This comparison consumes enormous energy, keeping the mind restless and the body tense. Awareness dissolves comparison by redirecting attention inward. You begin to notice your own rhythm, your own pace, and your own needs. You act in alignment with your inner truth rather than responding compulsively to external standards. Another deep source of struggle is the fear of stillness. As a child, moments of rest or silence may have been unsafe or discouraged. As an adult, you may fill silence with thought, noise, or distraction, fearing what will arise if you pause. Awareness teaches you that stillness is not dangerous. It is restorative. In stillness, the mind becomes clear, the body relaxes, and insight arises naturally. You begin to act from understanding rather than compulsion. You move through life with presence rather than constant effort. You may also notice how struggle limits creativity. Childhood conditioning often taught you to value achievement over play, results over expression, safety over experimentation. As an adult, creativity can feel blocked because it has been associated with risk. Awareness allows creativity to emerge effortlessly. You play, you explore, you imagine, you move. The nervous system relaxes, the mind opens, energy returns. Creation becomes natural, not forced. This is liberation in action. Another subtle form of struggle is tied to your sense of self-worth. Children who were valued conditionally may grow up linking worth to performance, obedience, or productivity. This internalized requirement drives effort long after it is necessary. Awareness reveals that your worth is inherent. It is not dependent on results, attention, or approval. The adult presence can operate from this intrinsic value. Actions become free of compulsion. Work becomes expression, not survival. Relationships become connection, not transaction. Finally, struggle is fueled by misunderstanding rest. You may feel guilty, anxious, or unsafe when not working, accomplishing, or achieving. Childhood may have created the belief that rest must be earned. Awareness gently corrects this. Rest is part of living fully. Rest restores clarity, energy, and perspective. Rest allows intelligence to function without friction. True effort arises from rest, not strain. Life moves better when you pause, breathe, and allow space to open internally. When these patterns begin to dissolve, life itself feels different. Moments become lighter, decisions become simpler, emotions flow naturally, relationships become less transactional, opportunities arise without manipulation. You move through life with a sense of spaciousness that effort cannot create. Freedom is not distant, it is now. The struggle has been a habit, but habit can be seen and released. Ease becomes the foundation of intelligence, and intelligence flows without compulsion. Take it easy does not mean you stop living or stop acting. It means you stop fighting yourself. It means you stop doing violence to your own nervous system. It means you act when action is needed, rest when rest is needed, and allow life to move in its own rhythm without unnecessary interference. This is not weakness, it is wisdom, it is strength, it is liberation. And when this is realized, you see clearly that you were never meant to struggle this much. You were meant to flow. Another subtle dimension of struggle lies in how you relate to control and predictability. From childhood, you learned that predicting outcomes, preparing for danger, and managing expectations were necessary for survival. As an adult, this translates into a compulsion to control every aspect of life: relationships, work, emotions, even the tiniest details of daily experience. This constant control is exhausting because life is inherently unpredictable. Awareness shows you that the universe does not need to be managed in order to unfold well. When you release the compulsion to control, you discover a fluid intelligence inside you, one that perceives opportunities, senses timing, and responds effectively without force. This intelligence is far more powerful than effortful planning because it moves in harmony with reality instead of against it. Relaxation here does not mean passivity, it means alignment. Acting without inner friction produces clarity, effectiveness, and energy, while struggle dissipates it. Another deeply rooted source of struggle is how you relate to outcomes. From childhood, you learned that success brought approval and failure brought punishment or shame. As an adult, this pattern continues unconsciously. You tie your sense of self-worth to results, measuring every effort against imagined standards or the achievements of others. Awareness allows you to see that outcomes are not the arbiter of value. Your presence, your effort, and your clarity matter more than the result. This shift changes everything. Decisions are no longer frantic, work is no longer burdensome, and life itself begins to feel spacious. You act with intelligence rather than compulsion. An energy that was once trapped in worry and fear is released to flow naturally. Struggle also arises in the relationship to expectations imposed by society, peers, or internalized parental voices. These expectations often dictate how you should behave, what you should achieve, and who you should become. Carrying them creates tension, reduces flexibility, and fractures attention. Awareness allows you to separate expectation from inner truth. You recognize which standards are useful and which are inherited scripts that no longer serve. As you stop obeying these outdated imperatives, a profound relief occurs. The body relaxes, the mind expands, and your perception of life becomes clearer. You begin to notice opportunities that were invisible under the weight of constant obligation. This liberation from external and internalized expectation is the foundation of effortless living. Another deep influence from childhood is how struggle is perpetuated through fear of inadequacy. The child learns to overcompensate to be accepted, to survive, to avoid shame. The adult often continues this pattern unknowingly, always striving to prove worth, to earn love, or to maintain control. Awareness disrupts this loop. You see that your value is intrinsic and that nothing external can add or subtract from it. This recognition releases an enormous amount of internal pressure, allowing action to arise from curiosity and interest rather than from fear and compulsion. Tasks that once felt impossible or draining suddenly feel manageable and even natural. Another layer of struggle lies in the suppression of natural rhythms. From childhood, sleep, play, rest, and creativity may have been interrupted or denied to satisfy external demands. As adults, many continue to override these rhythms, forcing themselves to be active, productive, or attentive when the body and mind need rest. Awareness reintroduces alignment with natural rhythms. You allow the body to rest, the mind to pause, and creativity to emerge spontaneously. The energy that was once wasted in forcing these rhythms returns to the system. Actions become more precise, emotional intelligence deepens, and the capacity to experience life fully is restored. A struggle also manifests in how you relate to discomfort and uncertainty. Childhood often created an association between discomfort and danger. As an adult, this leads to avoidance, over-preparation, or excessive planning to reduce uncertainty. Awareness transforms your relationship with discomfort. You learn to observe it, to allow it, and to act from clarity rather than compulsion. Uncertainty no longer triggers panic but becomes a signal of opportunity, an invitation to respond creatively. This reorientation dramatically reduces tension and fatigue while increasing responsiveness and resilience. Another profound area influenced by childhood conditioning is the perception of time. You were taught to hurry, to accomplish, to anticipate consequences, and to stay ahead. As adults, this habit of urgency creates perpetual stress and reduces the capacity to enjoy life as it unfolds. Awareness brings the realization that presence is more valuable than speed. When you slow down, even slightly, perception expands. You notice details previously missed. Opportunities appear naturally. Decisions become clearer. Life feels abundant even when nothing external has changed. The need to perform, to prove, and to anticipate creates not only mental fatigue but also a subtle contraction in the body. The shoulders tighten, the jaw stiffens, the breath shortens, and the nervous system remains in a semi-alert state even when danger is absent. Awareness, when practiced patiently, releases this chronic tension. With each moment of embodied presence, the body learns that stillness is safe, relaxation is natural, and effort is only necessary when aligned with purpose, not fear. Over time, the body becomes a source of intelligence rather than a mechanism of survival. Another hidden layer of struggle comes from the avoidance of silence. Many adults fill every moment with noise, internal or external, because silence once exposed vulnerability, insecurity, or fear. Awareness restores trust in silence. Silence becomes a space for clarity, insight, and rest. It is a field where creativity, wisdom, and emotional intelligence emerge effortlessly. Once you allow silence to be your companion, you no longer feel compelled to act unnecessarily, and the nervous system can integrate experiences deeply without forcing resolution or control. Struggle is also amplified by attachment to outcomes and resistance to impermanence. From childhood, you may have learned that success, approval, or security was rare and fragile, creating a reflexive grip on experience. As an adult, this manifests as over-attachment to results, relationships, or material stability. Awareness softens this attachment. You act fully, love deeply, and engage openly without needing to control the permanence of any moment. Life begins to flow rather than being fought. Freedom emerges not by acquiring or achieving, but by allowing and responding intelligently. Another important aspect of release from struggle is how you relate to creativity and play. Children are naturally playful, but many learn it early that play is unsafe, frivolous, or unproductive. The adult continues this pattern, suppressing curiosity, spontaneity, and joy. Awareness allows play and creativity to return, not as obligations, but as natural expressions of aliveness. Work becomes lighter, problem solving more fluid, and life itself regains its richness. The nervous system relaxes further, energy flows, and decisions are guided by intuition rather than tension. Struggle is also perpetuated through comparison. Childhood may have taught you to measure your worth against siblings, peers, or authority figures. As an adult, comparison continues to shape thought, emotion, and behavior, often unconsciously. Awareness dissolves the compulsion to compare. You begin to move in harmony with your own rhythm. Identity is no longer defined by other people's achievements, opinions, or approval. Freedom grows, and energy previously devoted to worry and striving is available for presence, creativity, and meaningful action. Finally, the deepest wisdom to understand is this: you were never meant to struggle this much. Struggle is a learned habit, a conditioned response, a legacy of survival strategies that no longer serve you. Awareness allows these strategies to relax. Effort becomes intelligent action. Fear transforms into understanding. Noise dissolves into attention. Resistance softens into flow. Ease becomes natural, not indulgent, and life moves with you rather than against you. Take it easy does not mean you stop living. It means you stop resisting yourself. It means you stop doing violence to your own body, mind, and spirit. It means you act when action is necessary, rest when rest is necessary, and allow life to carry you with intelligence, clarity, and presence. When this understanding is integrated, struggle begins to dissolve quietly, steadily, and completely. Life becomes effortless, not because the world has changed, but because your relationship with it has. Presence replaces tension. Awareness replaces compulsion. Ease replaces struggle. And in that ease, the world finally feels like home. Another layer of struggle that must be understood lies in how you relate to expectations, both your own and those projected by others. From childhood, you were taught that approval, love, and acceptance were conditional. You learned to anticipate what was demanded, to act in ways that secured safety, and to suppress impulses that could attract criticism. As an adult, this internalized expectation operates automatically, often without your conscious awareness. You may find yourself continually anticipating how others will respond to your words, actions, or even your presence. Awareness reveals that these anticipatory behaviors are inherited, not intrinsic. They are patterns designed for survival, not fulfillment. Once you see them clearly, their grip loosens. You begin to respond naturally instead of reacting to imagined judgment. You speak when necessary, remain silent when appropriate, and your energy is no longer dispersed by invisible obligations. Presence replaces anxiety, and life becomes fluid. Another subtle source of struggle is how you perceive accomplishment. Childhood often equated worth with success. Praise and validation came only when standards were met. Effort was visible, or performance exceeded expectations. As an adult, you may unconsciously continue to tie your self-esteem to achievements, measuring yourself against unattainable ideals or comparing your life to others. Awareness allows you to see that accomplishments are transient, external, and often irrelevant to your inner state. True alignment comes from doing what matters in the moment, not what proves your value to others. When action arises from clarity rather than pressure, it carries vitality instead of exhaustion, and you begin to experience work, creativity, and daily life as expression rather than obligation. Struggle also manifests in the way you relate to mistakes and uncertainty. Children often internalize the belief that mistakes are dangerous and must be avoided. As adults, this creates paralysis, over-preparation, or excessive caution. You may resist taking risks, even small ones, because of old fear. Awareness reframes mistakes as information, not condemnation. Errors are signals, not verdicts. Uncertainty becomes a space for intelligence to operate rather than a threat to survival. When you allow mistakes and uncertainty to exist without emotional escalation, you discover a new ease, a fluidity of decision making, a deepening trust in yourself, and a sense that life is manageable even when outcomes are unknown. Another profound inheritance from childhood is how struggle shapes your experience of relationships. Patterns learned early, seeking approval, avoiding conflict, hiding vulnerability, continue to influence adult interactions. You may give more than you receive or withdraw to protect yourself, believing that this ensures stability. Awareness allows you to see these patterns and respond differently. Boundaries are set without defensiveness. Intimacy deepens without fear. And the energy that was spent managing relationships through compulsion becomes available for genuine connection. Love flows naturally when it is no longer filtered through the lens of survival. Struggle is further reinforced by the constant inner dialogue of I must, I should, I cannot, I have to. These mental commands are echoes of childhood directives that were necessary for adaptation at the time but are now unnecessary burdens. Awareness allows you to notice this dialogue without obeying it. The nervous system relaxes, decisions arise organically, and actions are guided by clarity rather than compulsion. Over time, the inner critic becomes a quiet observer rather than a tyrant. Presence replaces argument and tension dissipates. Another dimension to understand is how struggle affects perception. When the mind is constantly engaged in effort, analysis, and anticipation, your perception narrows. Life appears more complex, threatening, or difficult than it is. Awareness expands perception. You see opportunities where you once saw obstacles. You notice beauty in ordinary moments. You recognize subtle patterns and solutions that were invisible under tension. Life ceases to be a battlefield. It becomes a living field of interaction where intelligence can move effortlessly. Struggle also distorts your relationship to pleasure and rest. Childhood often associated enjoyment with danger, punishment, or guilt. As an adult, you may unconsciously limit your own pleasure, resist relaxation, or overfill your days with activity to avoid stillness. Awareness restores innocence to enjoyment. You allow yourself to rest without shame, to experience delight without justification, and to savor ordinary moments fully. Energy that was once trapped in defense returns to the body and mind. Action becomes sustainable. Creativity returns. Presence deepens. Ease begins to permeate daily life. Another hidden source of a struggle is the compulsion to control outcomes in work, relationships, and life in general. From childhood, control often brought safety. As an adult, control creates tension, reduces flexibility, and narrows attention. Awareness allows control to relax. You observe life and respond rather than dictate. Decisions arise naturally. Outcomes unfold with less interference. Life feels lighter because the nervous system is no longer in constant alert. This does not diminish effectiveness, it enhances it. Action becomes precise, efficient, and aligned with reality. Struggle also feeds on comparison, a habit inherited from childhood expectations. You may measure your progress, happiness, or success against others, constantly checking against external standards. This comparison keeps energy focused outward rather than inward, perpetuating tension and dissatisfaction. Awareness dissolves the need for comparison. You align with your own rhythm, honor your own pace, and allow growth to occur organically. The present moment becomes sufficient. Inner pressure diminishes. Life itself feels abundant. Another subtle but powerful source of struggle is your relationship with impermanence. Childhood experiences may have taught you that change is dangerous, love is conditional, and security is fragile. This creates fear of letting go, fear of transition, and resistance to the natural flow of life. Awareness helps you encounter change with intelligence. You allow endings to occur gracefully. You receive new beginnings with openness. You participate in life without clinging to what was and without anxious anticipation of what will be. This removes unnecessary tension and allows vitality to flow. Struggle is also perpetuated by the over-identification with thought and judgment. From childhood, you learn to interpret experiences through mental frameworks rather than direct perception. As an adult, this creates an inner commentary that judges, anticipates, and manipulates constantly. Awareness shifts your relationship with thought. You notice mental activity without being dominated by it. You respond with presence. The mind becomes a tool, not a master. Energy previously trapped in internal argument becomes available for living fully. Finally, one of the most profound layers of struggle is the resistance to simply being. Childhood survival strategies trained you to act, anticipate, and adapt constantly. As an adult, this conditioning leads to compulsive doing even when action is unnecessary. Awareness teaches you to inhabit the moment fully, to allow stillness without tension, and to participate in life without forcing it. The body relaxes, the mind opens, intelligence functions naturally, joy returns, creativity arises, decisions become effortless, life flows. Take it easy does not mean doing nothing. It means stopping the internal war, releasing unnecessary tension, trusting intelligence, and allowing alignment to emerge. When struggle is understood as learned, habitual, and unnecessary, it begins to dissolve quietly. You act from clarity, respond from presence, and life becomes cooperative rather than adversarial. Ease is not indulgence. It is the natural state. You were never meant to struggle this much. You were meant to move with life, to flow, and to participate fully without friction. Another profound source of struggle lies in how you relate to your own expectations of self. From childhood, you were taught that being disciplined, obedient, and attentive was necessary for approval, safety, or love. As an adult, this manifests as an inner compulsion to achieve, perform, or maintain an image even when it is unnecessary. You push yourself in subtle ways, staying busy when you could rest, speaking when you could listen, planning when you could observe. Awareness shows you the futility of this compulsion. You begin to notice the difference between effort that is aligned with presence and effort that arises from fear or habit. When this distinction is seen clearly, unnecessary exertion drops naturally, energy returns. Life begins to feel lighter, and the adult presence begins to operate without tension or pressure. Struggle also arises in how you relate to expectations of others. Childhood often taught you to anticipate the moods, needs, and reactions of caregivers. You learn to adjust yourself constantly to avoid disapproval, punishment, or neglect. As an adult, you unconsciously carry this pattern, shaping every interaction with friends, partners, and colleagues. You may over-accommodate, over-explain, or over-control situations to maintain harmony or approval. Awareness allows you to observe this behavior without judgment. You begin to respond rather than react. You set boundaries intelligently, neither retreating from connection nor forcing compliance. Life becomes more cooperative because you are no longer constantly adjusting to imagined expectations. Another layer of struggle is the relationship with uncertainty. Childhood experiences of unpredictability or instability create a lifelong habit of bracing for the unknown. You may overplan, overthink, or avoid risk entirely, fearing what might happen if control is lost. Awareness dissolves this automatic bracing. You notice that the future is never guaranteed, and yet you are fully capable of meeting it. When you act from this grounded presence, energy previously devoted to anxiety is released. You move through life with clarity and flexibility, responding to challenges with intelligence rather than tension. A struggle decreases naturally because fear no longer drives action. The relationship to mistakes is another area deeply colored by childhood conditioning. Children often learn that mistakes bring shame, punishment, or disappointment. As adults, this creates an internalized fear of error, leading to hesitation, overcompensation, and a constant sense of inadequacy. Awareness transforms your relationship with mistakes. You see errors as information rather than judgment. You act with courage, knowing that each misstep provides insight. The body relaxes, the mind opens, and creativity flourishes because you are no longer paralyzed by fear. Effort becomes intelligent, fluid, and aligned rather than compulsive. A struggle is also perpetuated by the habit of comparing yourself to others. Childhood experiences of favoritism, ranking, or evaluation condition you to measure your worth against external standards. As an adult, you may unconsciously continue this pattern, comparing achievements, appearance, intelligence, or relationships. Awareness allows you to step out of this comparison. You measure against your own rhythm, your own growth, your own presence. The pressure to prove, compete, or justify yourself dissolves. Life becomes less a race and more a flowing engagement, with space to notice beauty, opportunity, and connection. Another subtle source of struggle is the misalignment between action and inner intention. Childhood often taught you to act in ways that secured approval rather than expressed authenticity. Adults carry this pattern in relationships, work, and daily choices. Effort is expended in performance rather than presence. Awareness allows you to notice the origin of each action. You begin to act in alignment with intention rather than compulsion. Movement becomes intelligent, not forced. Life itself seems to carry you, rather than requiring you to push against it. This is a profound shift, because it transforms struggle from a lifestyle into a learned habit that can be dissolved. Another dimension of struggle is the tension between expectation and experience. Childhood conditioned you to anticipate outcomes as a form of survival, predicting reactions, rewards, and consequences. As adults, this anticipation becomes mental overload. The mind races ahead, creating friction with the present moment. Awareness allows you to observe this pattern. You notice the distinction between what is occurring and what you fear will occur. By resting in the present, you remove the unnecessary tension created by mental projection. Energy returns to the system. Your perception expands. Actions become clearer. Life becomes responsive rather than defensive. Struggle also limits intimacy both with yourself and others. Children often learn to hide emotions or desires to maintain safety. Adults carry these reflexes unconsciously, limiting emotional availability and vulnerability. Awareness allows you to notice and honor your own feelings without judgment. You no longer project old patterns onto relationships. You meet others directly with openness rather than defense. Emotional energy is freed from the constant effort to manage impression or avoid pain. Relationships deepen naturally and life feels lighter. Another hidden form of struggle is the constant inner dialogue of I must, I should, I have to. These mental commands are inherited survival strategies that no longer serve. Awareness allows you to notice this dialogue without obeying it. You act when clarity and alignment arise, rather than following compulsive instructions from the past. The nervous system relaxes, presence expands. Decisions flow naturally, and energy previously trapped in compliance and overmanagement is liberated. Finally, struggle persists through the refusal to allow ease. You may believe that living with effort is necessary for growth, morality, or responsibility. Awareness shows you that this belief is learned, not inherent. Life itself is effortless. Intelligence does not push unnecessarily. Strength is not found in tension, but in alignment. When you take it easy, your nervous system aligns with the flow of existence. Energy returns, clarity emerges, movement becomes fluid. Decisions become accurate without effort. Presence replaces compulsion, ease replaces struggle. Take it easy does not mean avoidance. It does not mean passivity. It means aligning with life instead of fighting it. It means resting when rest is needed, acting when action is necessary, and allowing intelligence to operate naturally. When this understanding is integrated, struggle dissolves quietly, steadily, and completely. Energy returns, joy emerges, and life feels expansive and effortless. You were never meant to struggle this much. You were meant to flow with life, to move with intelligence, and to inhabit every moment fully, without tension, without compulsion, without fear. Now it is time to let all of this settle quietly, not as instructions, not as rules, but as a deep recognition that changes how you live from moment to moment. You were never meant to carry life as a burden, to push endlessly, to strain against existence, to measure your worth by effort alone. Struggle is not proof of strength. Struggle is habit. And habits can be seen, understood, and released. Awareness is the tool that dissolves unnecessary effort and restores the natural intelligence of body, mind, and heart. Remember this. Taking it easy does not mean avoiding life. It does not mean giving up. It means stopping the internal war you have carried for decades. It means acting when action is needed, resting when rest is needed, speaking when clarity calls, and being silent when silence is required. It means allowing your nervous system, your breath, your emotions, and your attention to return to alignment with existence rather than fighting against it. Ease is not indulgence. Ease is the natural state of intelligence functioning harmoniously. You may feel resistance as you read or hear this. That resistance is the old habit of struggle asserting itself. Notice it, breathe, allow it, do not fight it. Awareness does not battle resistance. Awareness simply notices, and in noticing, resistance loses its authority. Little by little, the body relaxes. The mind settles, and the energy that was once wasted in tension is returned to life itself. Another profound truth is that a struggle often masquerades as morality, responsibility, and discipline. You may have been taught that only those who suffer are worthy, that only those who work relentlessly are valuable, that only those who sacrifice prove themselves. Awareness shows that these beliefs are learned and unnecessary. Strength arises from alignment, not tension. Responsibility arises from clarity, not fear. Presence itself is sufficient proof of intelligence. As this recognition deepens, you will notice life shifting around you. Moments become lighter, decisions clearer, and relationships more natural. You do not need to over-plan, over-control, or over-justify. You respond intelligently because the system is no longer clogged with effort and fear. You act with precision and compassion. You rest with fullness and ease. And your life begins to move in rhythm with existence itself rather than against it. Take it easy also means reclaiming your relationship with time. Life has never required you to rush. Urgency was taught, cultivated, and reinforced by expectation and comparison. Awareness restores natural pacing. Time expands. Decisions are made with presence, not panic. You move steadily, deliberately, aligned with your own rhythm and with the intelligence of the world. Life becomes spacious rather than oppressive, fluid rather than forced. Finally, know this deeply. You were never meant to struggle this much. You were meant to live fully, intelligently, and effortlessly. You were meant to act with clarity, to rest without guilt, to love without compulsion, and to be present without fighting yourself. Life is not a battle. Life is an intelligence that moves through you when you stop resisting. Ease is not absence. It is mastery. Strength is not strain. It is alignment. Presence is not passive. It is awake and vibrant. Carry this understanding into each day. Let it guide your choices, your breath, your movements, your attention. Allow yourself to relax without force, to act without tension, and to flow with life rather than against it. In this alignment, struggle fades naturally, energy returns, and joy appears without effort. Take it easy, not as a suggestion, not as advice, but as truth. Life itself supports you when you stop fighting, and in that support, freedom, clarity, and intelligence emerge fully. You were never meant to struggle this much. You were meant to flow,